What's up, everybody? We're gonna go ahead and get ready to get this show started, and we're gonna do this post game. I thank y'all for sticking with me. I'm sorry that I was late doing this. I should have done it yesterday, but um, I had to take care of a few things, and just had to kind of relax a bit after this win, seeing what was going on. But also, we're going to be talking about the trade deadline a little bit as well, as some trades were definitely made around the league, and the Tennessee Titans were not a part of any of them. So, we're definitely going to talk about that and more as we get ready for TNT post game. Let's get started.
Good evening, Titan Nation. How is everybody?
What's going on, Titan Nation? How's everybody doing? Welcome into a Victory Tuesday of TNT post game. I'm your man Chris, aka Blue Enforcer, and we're gonna definitely talk a little bit about this victory that we had on Sunday as the Tennessee Titans improved to 3-4 with a 28-23 victory over the Atlanta Falcons at Nissan Stadium. And I gotta tell you, those throwback Oiler jerseys were looking beautiful. They were hot. They were fire. And I enjoyed every bit of that game. We're definitely going to talk about Will Levis's great performance. D Hop hits a hat trick, and basically how this game, I really do think, changed everything for the trade deadline. And so there's a lot to talk about. There's quite a few things happening. I won't be able to go over all the trades, but I'm going to just talk about some of the notable ones that did happen around the NFL. But first thing first, please do make sure y'all go ahead and share this show out. Of course, make sure you follow me on Facebook at TNT Enforcers, on Twitter X at TNT Blue Enforcer, and on Instagram at Titans underscore in underscore truth. We are live, of course, on YouTube. We're live on YouTube, also on Twitter as well, and in the Tennessee Titans fan group page as well. So definitely go follow those pages also. I made sure to unload All right, y'all. I am working. I am working on some technical difficulties with my computer at the moment. So I'm actually trying to work that out as we speak. But we're gonna keep going on this show. I'm doing it off of my phone at the moment. But um, this game was incredible for a lot of things. So, I mean, we had the Tennessee Titans. They took care of business, beating the Atlanta Falcons 28-23. Will Levis throws for 4 touchdowns in his first start. DeAndre Hopkins hits a hat trick with 3 TDs, and then Big Jeff does Big Jeff things. So right now, just trying to kind of get my phone back online, get my phone back online and everything. So, um, you know, yeah, probably yeah, it could probably be a browser update, which doesn't surprise me, but that's why I'm actually on my microphone here. So can y'all hear me right now? Let me know that y'all can hear me and everything. So I'm gonna definitely make sure that y'all can hear me pretty good and everything. So I'm doing it off of my phone at the moment until I get my computer back online and make sure everything is good. So but let's talk about this game because I mean Will Levis. This brother put on a show. This brother put on a show, I tell you. And you know, for it being his first start, he looked like a seasoned quarterback. He looked like somebody that had done this before. And I mean, Will Levis, he had poise, he had control, he had, you know, I mean, even if the offensive line is not the best, I mean, every time he dropped back, you know, he did the little shoulder fake, he did the little pump fake. I was like, I haven't seen that in forever. And Will Levis was extremely impressive. I mean, again, throwing for 4 touchdowns, throwing for 4 TDs. He was, you know, and I'm gonna have the stats going across the board: 19 of 29, 238 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 of them to DeAndre Hopkins, and then he had that amazing back over the shoulder back throw to Nick Westbrook or Keenan, which I thought was just absolutely a dime that he put on. I mean, a absolute dime that he dropped. And I thought that was just awesome. I thought that was incredible how that happened. And I mean, all I gotta say was if that's the way if he's gonna play like that the whole time, we got us a quarterback. But I know it's just one game. I know we have to kind of take it in stride and understand that there are going to be some growing pains. And you know, tomorrow we're definitely going to talk about the next game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll definitely talk about that tomorrow. And I'm trying to see if I have a regular channel back. Let's see. Y'all give me a moment. Okay. I think I'm back now. Okay. I think I'm back on here now. Making sure everything is good. Okay. Let me know if the audio is good back on here. So I was trying to make sure um trying to make sure everything is good. So, but yes, I mean, there was stuff that Will Levis was doing that I have not seen in a very long time, and the fact is, I mean, that arm, he showed it off. He has a hell of an arm, and there were even a couple of passes that were going to Treylon Burks. I know a lot of people want to bash on Burks, but there was a couple of passes to him that even though they weren't completed, they looked good too. Like one, I think he maybe led Treylon Burks a little bit too far to the sideline, and Burks came down with it, but wasn't able to stay in bounds. And then the other, I think he hesitated for maybe a tenth of a second, and they gave the defender time to kind of knock that away. But other than that, I thought it was very, very impressive. And you know, I think, and we'll talk about the trade deadline, but I think DeAndre Hopkins, who had a stellar performance, even though that first catch, that first touchdown could have been offensive pass interference, but I think because both players were kind of going at each other, there was some hand fighting between both of them, then it's like he kind of got away with that one. So, because thank God it just wasn't the one that happened on our side. So, I thought what DeAndre Hopkins did was absolutely incredible. I mean, I agree. It was a heck of a game. It was a fun game to witness. I do like the fact that he did give them a chance to make big plays. Steven said, "What a way for Levis to kick off his debut." I definitely agree. Levis shocked me. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting it either. Uh, Donzel86 says Levis saved some jobs. I think Levis maybe has saved the season because I do really think um that the vibe of the whole season changed in that game. I think a lot of what the Titans were going to do at the trade deadline depended on this game that just happened. And Will Levis, I think, not only is the reason Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins are still Titans right now, but he may have just saved Mike Vrabel's job for the moment. He may have just saved it. So, brother said they didn't call it damn that. Hey, I'm just saying. Kind of got away with one, but Terrell was kind of doing the same thing. So that's why I was like, that's a pretty good no call when it comes to that. Facebook says Tannehill and Willis both had the same offensive line. Levis worked with it. Let Levis finish the season out. We might have ourselves a quarterback. And that could definitely be true. Steven says, I don't know if Will Levis is the reason Derrick Henry is still a Titan. And here's what I say about that is that he may not be the sole reason, but the fact that they won the game is why. They won the game. So that's why they're probably like, you know what? We're going to keep this core together because they believe they can win. They believe they can win. So if it wasn't for Levis, a lot of people would have left this team a few hours ago. Exactly. I truly do believe the Atlanta victory has changed the vibe real quickly within that organization because I think a lot of us, including myself, was thinking sell, sell, sell. Go ahead, trade Derrick Henry. Go ahead, trade the Nico Autry, Christian Fulton. Trade Tannehill. Get what you can get, restock your picks, and let's look to next year. And I think this victory over Atlanta maybe gave all of us a small glimmer of hope that either this season can be salvaged and turned around, or better yet, we may be able to have found ourselves a quarterback. And I think that's the thing that we're actually going to find out. So Levis doing his thing, I mean, that is good. That was, I'm like, man, you know, people kept asking like on different shows, like, what was one word to describe this game? I said reborn. I'm like, I felt reborn because there was a time I wanted to give up. And yes, I was one of those who said, look for life without Derrick Henry. If they trade him, I'm okay with it. I know a lot of you were not. And I know a lot of y'all are real happy right now that Derrick Henry did not get traded. I know a lot of y'all was terrified to death that Derrick Henry was going to get traded. I actually would have been okay if they did. I probably would have been a little shocked that they traded him, but I would have been okay because I'm like, hey, look to the future. But clearly, Mike Vrabel, and I say this because I think he's running the team, Mike Vrabel believes they can win. Mike Vrabel is too stubborn. He doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. And I think that scares Mike Vrabel to death. And we're going to talk about the boos in just a minute. But Will Levis, wow. DeAndre Hopkins. I think DeAndre Hopkins went to the organization and said, don't trade me. I want to play with that guy. Derrick Henry, 22 carries, 101 yards. Kind of looked like his old self. Tajay Spears had a couple of nice runs. Defensively, and this is some stuff that I brought up that I was going to bring up. Will Levis shined in his debut. He most certainly did. D-Hop has the hat trick. 4 catches, 3 touchdowns. Big Jeff had himself a ball game. 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. Harold Landry had 2 sacks. The Titans in all, 6 sacks. And that's how the defense is supposed to look. So it was a day for quite a few people. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that was the booing with Malik. And I will give Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Levis credit. They were supposed to stick up for their teammate. They were supposed to stick up for their teammate. That's what they're supposed to do. And I just want everybody to understand this, and this is just my opinion. I will justify the boos. Why? Because a lot of fans pay hard-earned money, take time out of their day, drive with gas, and go and support the team. Heck, I would have been there if I had the money. Right now, I'm on some financial hard times at the moment, but I support the team. And I want everybody to understand now, I know for some of y'all, it may not make a difference. It's the fact that it happened. As a fan who pays hard-earned money to go see that team play, if you see something that displeasures you, you boo. And I hate that Malik Willis had to go through that. I really do. I hate that Malik had to go through that because, in my true, honest opinion, the fans were not booing Malik. I don't think they were booing Malik. They were booing Mike Vrabel and the coaching staff's decision because Malik should not have even been put in that position in the first place. I've said this over and over again. Unless your name is Ryan Tannehill, for some reason, Mike Vrabel just doesn't seem to be a real big fan of either Will Levis or Malik Willis. He felt he had to go with Will Levis probably because of pressure and knowing that the season was on the line. But he has never put Malik Willis in the positions that they put Will Levis. They put Will Levis in positions to succeed. They've put Malik Willis in positions to fail every single time. Now, granted, Aaron Brewer, that was a terrible snap. And Malik Willis should have recovered that fumble. But again, I blame Mike Vrabel because Malik should have never been in that position in the first place. And when that whole thing happened, and I actually thought they were booing Vrabel. They were, because it's like, why did you put Malik in that situation? You see, Mike Vrabel did that out of spite. Let's be honest. He did that out of spite. He did that to try to show everybody, hey, all of y'all was wrong and I was right. Because the report came out that Will Levis was going to start, and Mike Vrabel comes in on the press conference saying, I never said that. I never made that determination. And so, of course, his arrogant, stubborn pettiness kicked in. That was off of ego. And he did it twice. He did that off of ego to say, hey, I said both quarterbacks were going to play, and I said we were going to rotate, and we're going to follow my plan because I'm always right. Because I'm always right. But then when he saw Will Levis was putting on a show, it's like, oh, well, you know, the way the game was going, it was going good for Will Levis. We decided to fall back on the plan. No, you shouldn't have. You should have stuck with Will Levis all the way through in the first place. Now, I get it and the thing about it is, Will Levis had just gotten a first down on a 3rd and 1 quarterback sneak, and then you take him out and you bring in Malik on 1st and 10. I would have understood it if it was like a 2nd and 2 or even a 3rd and 1 quarterback sneak with Malik. I would have understood that. But you bring him in on 1st and 10 after Will Levis gets a first down. That was Vrabel's ego. And we all know Vrabel is a stubborn jackass. We all know that. And anybody that doesn't know that, you've been living under a rock for too damn long. Come out from up under that rock, and you know I'm telling the truth. And Will Levis's performance saved it, because if the Titans had lost that game, or if Atlanta scores that touchdown and that was the difference, we're all throwing pitchforks at Vrabel because his stubborn arrogance and pettiness nearly cost the team that football game. As he said, imagine if that was yourself being booed. It would suck. If you're playing bad, yes, it would. If you're playing bad, I know I would deserve to be booed. But again, that was not Malik's fault. They were not booing Malik, even though I know everybody will say, well, it doesn't matter. You were booing the team. No, we were booing Vrabel because that was a dumb, stupid decision. And all of you know that. Don't act like you don't know that. Don't act like you don't know that. Steve said Vrabel will always be as stubborn as a mule like his mentor. Show ain't lying about that. And Donzel says Vrabel still talks about Tannehill might start once he gets healthy. I'm sick of Vrabel. Well, here's the thing about that, and then we're going to get into the trade talks. Again, I feel bad for Malik had to go through that, Again, I respect the players sticking up for their teammate, but Mike Vrabel should have got up there and said, hey, I understand the boos were directed at me. I made a bad decision. But Vrabel never takes accountability saying that he made a mistake. Vrabel will always, duck and dodge the responsibility. He wants everybody else to be accountable, but not himself. That's what makes me sick about him. And then, again, he still has the nerve to say, well, we'll see how, after the press conferences and then this week, looking like it's going to be Levis going to start again. Talk about, well, we'll see where Ryan is. Ryan was very limited. Like, he almost didn't want to admit that they're going with Will Levis. He's still trying to hold out that last little glimmer of hope. Yeah, when Ryan is if Ryan is healthy, we'll see where he is, and he may be able to come back and play and things like that. All I gotta say is this: this is Will Levis's team now. If Mike Vrabel's stubborn ass, if Ryan Tannehill plays another snap of football, barring an injury, with the exception of an injury, I'm just saying, like, if he really does go back to Tannehill, even when healthy, he goes back to Tannehill, Mike Vrabel should be fired on the spot. He should be fired right then and there. Because that would be a stupid idea. You stick with the kid. Let's see what he's got. And let's just say Will Levis goes in. He goes into Pittsburgh Thursday night. Now, do I expect him to put the same performance he just had? Absolutely not. I think he'll struggle a little. But if he goes in there, throws for 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, he might have a pick, but hopefully it doesn't make a difference. And, one of those touchdowns is a late touchdown, or Derrick Henry gets a late run and they win the game, and Will Levis doesn't make that huge mistake and he doesn't take a beating. You stick with Will Levis for the rest of the season. If he goes into Thursday night, short week, hostile territory, very good pass rush, not to mention the whole world is going to be watching, and Levis goes into Pittsburgh where they have not had a lot of luck and goes in there and wins on the road, there is no way on God's green earth you can go back to Ryan Tannehill. Will Levis would have proven this is his team now. And you probably have a quarterback to build on in the future. The whole, let's see for tank for Caleb Williams or Drake May, that's not going to happen. And even if we are in position for one of those guys, you know what we could do? We could trade that pick and get a lot of capital because we already have a franchise quarterback. Now, unless Marvin Harrison Jr. is there for us to pick, now that's a different story. Or you could trade back a few spots and get one of the top 2 offensive linemen. You have yourself a left tackle. You can get a few picks, get a Keon Coleman at receiver, maybe get you a corner. You may have to look at safety. You probably could look at interior offensive line. You can build around Will Levis. But if Levis goes in there Thursday night, even if they lose and he at least has a decent performance and he's not the reason they lost, you roll with the kid going forward. You roll with Levis going forward. And Brandon is exactly right. Some other people saying it. You're playing with house money. If Levis wins, you're playing with house money the rest of the season because you're just trying to see what you got. King I says, Vrabel's ego is way too high. He won 1 coach of the year and doesn't know how to act. Yeah, way too high. Facts. This is Will Levis' team. Mike Vrabel needs to come back to earth and realize it. Yeah, Vrabel needs to get on board with this. Because Amy is probably telling them too, like, hey, Will Levis. Tannehill's time is done. Tannehill's time is over. And that's another thing that was shown. And I appreciate Ryan Tannehill being a good sport, cheering Will Levis on. And you know what? Tannehill being on this team, I think it should be that Tannehill is the emergency quarterback. Let him be like a coach to Will Levis. Let him mentor Will Levis and help him. That's what needs to happen. So Vrabel needs to get off his high horse, quit acting like he knows everything, and do what's best for the team, because that stuff with Malik, that was Vrabel's fault. Vrabel always say, don't do dumb to hurt the football team. That's exactly what Vrabel did. And it was inexcusable. But of course, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, we will get into Pittsburgh a little bit more. Of course, Minkah Fitzpatrick is out. Kenny Pickett, despite the injury, says he's going to play. So, defensive line, get after him. Get after him. Amar says Levis saved Mike Vrabel's job. For the moment, yes. Depending on how the rest of the season go. If they come back and win the division, make the playoffs, maybe win a game, then he did save Vrabel's job. But they better win the division. They better do a lot of winning. Because if they still do a bunch of losing despite Will Levis and we have him to build a future, Vrabel ain't going to be around to see it. A offensive-minded quarterback who really will know what they're doing could come in and do better. But tomorrow night, we're going to get into Pittsburgh. But lastly, let's quickly talk about the trade deadline. As the Tennessee Titans did not make any trades at the trade deadline. Of course, they did trade Kevin Byard last week, but they did not make any further trades. At first, it was rumored that DeAndre Hopkins could have been moved. Rumor was they shut it off. They shut off all trade talks for DeAndre Hopkins. And apparently there was a trade in place that would have sent Derrick Henry to the Baltimore Ravens, but but it was said that Amy Adams Strunk vetoed that trade. But of course, Paul Kaharski has come out and said that ain't true. That's not true. So we don't know if there really was a trade in place for Derrick Henry. But the Titans don't make any moves. But some moves that were made around the NFL, looks like the Washington Commanders are on a fire sale because they get a third-round pick, but they send Montez Sweat to the Chicago Bears for a second-round pick. So the Bears give up a second-round pick to Washington for Montez Sweat. So that's very interesting. And then turn around and trade Chase Young to the 49ers for a third-round pick. The rich get richer. The 49ers already have a terrific defense, and then they just get even stronger with Chase Young. That was a desperation move by the 49ers because they know they've lost 3 in a row. And they know they need help. And so that's why they went and got Chase Young. Also, of course, it looked like, there could have been a chance Tannehill got traded to the Vikings. Instead, the Vikings traded for quarterback Josh Dobbs, which tells me Minnesota might be selling. Danielle Hunter did not get traded. Danielle Hunter did not get traded from the Vikings. But they go and get Josh Dobbs. They could have went and got a Tannehill. Now, I think if Tannehill had not gotten hurt, I could have seen where more teams would have made a move on Tannehill. And I agree with King Ozzy. 49ers want to be stacked like the Eagles, of course. Brandon, I know Brandon is so bad. Like, what the hell does San Francisco have that no one else got? They got an aggressive coach and general manager. They feel like they're close to the Super Bowl. They know they got to compete with Philly. And they feel if they didn't do something that they wouldn't be able to compete. They're stacked. Facebook says, keeping Henry and Hopkins around Levis can only make him better. Let Tannehill go. And I do think I think that's a good idea. Keeping Henry and Hopkins around will help Levis in the long run. I know some other trades that happened. I believe Donovan Peoples-Jones got traded from Cleveland to Detroit. Cornerback Jalen Johnson did not get traded from the Bears. I think he's a guy the Titans should go after in free agency because I think he would be a really good corner. He's going to be highly sought after in free agency. So I would definitely look at that. But yeah, I think for the Titans, there were some missed opportunities. I think Tannehill could have been one. I'm surprised the Jets didn't call. So, I'm surprised nobody called on Trey Lance. That was very interesting. But, yeah, not really anything crazy that happened, I believe. Besides the Chase Young Montez Sweat trades, nothing really huge happened around the NFL as far as trades are concerned. And so, that is always gonna be the question is that should the Titans have made some moves? And, the fact that they didn't, what? Maybe in the long run, it might have been a good thing. It might have been a good thing. I know Ezra Cleveland, I believe, the guard from Minnesota got traded. Got traded as well. So there were a few trades that were made, but I see Razul Douglas got traded to Buffalo. But Ezra Cleveland goes to Jacksonville. That's what happened. So Minnesota gets a 7th round pick and Josh Dobbs, but Arizona gets a 6th round pick. So they basically swap picks. Yeah, Contavious Street from Philly for Grady Jarrett's injury. I forgot about Leonard Williams. A 2nd round pick at 24 and a 5th at 25 to Seattle. So I forgot about that. But that's basically the main thing. Nothing really major happened besides Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Leonard Williams. Definitely were some trades, but nothing really major. The Titans didn't do anything, so nothing really to go further on that. Maybe this is a good thing. We'll see. But the Titans better be doing some winning. Because if they don't, Vrabel's going to be out. And so, like I said, y'all, tomorrow we're going to really get into Pittsburgh. We'll have our two-tone blue star of the week and our dunce of the day. And we'll get into stock up, stock down as well. So get some questions ready for Pick My Brain. And then we're going to get into the Steelers and get ready for some Thursday night football. So, everybody, I want to thank y'all for tuning in to TNT Post Game. I'm your man, Chris, a.k.a. Blue Enforcer. I hope everybody has a very good rest of your Tuesday night. And I will see y'all tomorrow night for TNT Tonight. Y'all have a good one, y'all. And I forgot to say this. Make sure, again, y'all share the show out. Make sure y'all give likes. Make sure if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. And make sure you follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And y'all make sure, everybody, we tighten up, because that's all we know how to do. Good night, y'all.